Everyone, welcome back to another live session. As always, thank you so much for being here. Just making sure my mic's on, you can see and hear me okay. Um, Always fun to be back. And I think I was looking at the data yesterday, and this is live session 199. So I may do like something fun next week for live session 200. We might do some giveaways. We might do some fun stuff. So I just want to think a little bit about it, but it's crazy to think about this live journey and this live journey about to hit 200 live sessions. That's just, I don't know if I ever thought I'd go this long on YouTube or ever hit 200 live sessions. I remember doing the first live session, freaking out. And so, again, if you're hopping on, I next week will be my 200th live session. And so, yeah, I got to do something fun for it, some kind of giveaway or something. And obviously, you're here today to not think about next week. So, let's go ahead and dive in and get started. So, um, as always, as you hop into these live sessions, I'm going to go backwards before we go forwards. And so, yesterday's video, I really focused in on 14 steps that are kind of sabotaging people's job search and just the interview process and all stages of job search yesterday. So, definitely check that out. Obviously, some of these items are like a little more relevant for 2025. That could be utilizing AI, utilizing tools, etc. And then there's the tried and true things that people just aren't doing and are timeless. And so I kind of highlight those 14 mistakes in yesterday's video. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, just quickly run through it. I always give the same feedback. YouTube rewards me for watch time, but I'm also low and slow. Try speeding me up. Sometimes I think, well, I think you can watch me on 2x. I like everything on 2x, but you can always speed me up. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Well, our subject today is, are companies paying less in 2025? As always, that will be our default subject area to talk about when we get slow on questions. And, obviously, sometimes these live sessions flow and sometimes they're a little slower. As you're coming into this session, please let me know where you're visiting from. Say hello. Let me know that you can see and hear me okay. I'm not talking to myself. That's always nice. So, what do I want to do here? Yeah, let's prompt on the services and and then we'll dive in. Sometimes my brain stops during these sessions, and that's just all part of going live. If this is your first time here, my name is Jeff H. Sipe. My business is practiceinterviews.com. I have a number of different coaching services. That's coaching services from one-on-one and lots of package offerings now. We want to really offer those packages for our clients as well. Obviously, interview mastery course, just continuing to grow. How many people purchased that course, and the AI update has been awesome. So that was great as well. And of course, I'm just flagging app.practiceinterviews.com. Please, if you haven't, sign up for our wait list to be a part of the beta version of our interview academy. We're going to be allowing people slowly into the academy, I think probably starting next week. So we kind of built out an academy within the app to kind of work you through the process and make the interview prep a little bit more flow, a little bit more learning based. And so we think that that's a huge lift. So we're really, really excited about that as well. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. And if you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. Really live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original long form content every Monday. And then I'm trying to do as many shorts as possible. Everybody knows I'm totally epically failing at that game, but I'll usually throw 1 or 2 out per week. Let's dive in. Let's have some fun. Thank you so much for being here. And anything and everything is on the table. Let's do it. Hey, Jeff, completed my on-site loop a couple of weeks ago, and I followed up last Wednesday, but it's been silent since. My recruiter was responsive at the beginning, so it's probably a rejection. No, that is not a signal of rejection. That's a signal of an unorganized recruiter, right? So just because we don't hear back in a timely manner, there could be a lot of other candidates who are interviewing. I never want to excuse and will never excuse their lack of organization or follow-up, but it's definitely not a rejection. And so you completed your week, your loop a couple weeks ago, and you followed up last Wednesday. So you're at 2 weeks. It's kind of when you hit that 3 week plus mark that you reach out to Google/candidate/support at google.com and say, hey, haven't heard back from my recruiter. I had some interviews. I'm just trying to get a status update. Because what happens is this is an offshore team. They'll get CC'd into it. The recruiter will get CC'd into it. And that's usually a prompt for them to respond right away because they know that they suck. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, they just haven't followed up, so they need to be poked by another team. So again, I like this more at like the 3 week time frame. I used to say a month, but now I'm pushing more towards 3 weeks because the recruiters are just getting worse and worse. But that's my recommendation. Keep us posted, but you got to poke at your recruiters. You're doing the right thing and taking control. So I would send another follow-up email as soon as today or tomorrow. And then again, if it's a week later, I would use that email address. Good luck. Hey, Patrick, thanks for being here. Hey, Daphne from Miami, keep it going. Your wisdom and guidance is invaluable. I'm trying to keep it going as best I can. Probably can't make it to the next session as my start date is next Monday. Really sad that I cannot participate in the giveaway. Yeah, and I don't know what that giveaway is going to be, but it's got to be something, right? So, and that giveaway will I can extend that out beyond people who show up for the live session, because actually the majority of the views of the live sessions I don't know if it's just me, but because I keep all of them public, most of the views come not during the live sessions. Now, again, this is not COVID. During COVID, we'd have 100, 150, 200 people sometimes in these live sessions. I haven't seen those numbers since COVID times. So a lot of people, again, are watching on replay. So I'll think about the giveaway a little bit, work with GPT to help me figure out what's going to be a good giveaway for everybody showing up. And Patrick, you're one of the people who's kept these live sessions going over the last few weeks as we've gotten sleepy. So I really appreciate it. Hey, Jeff from Texas. How's it going? Once done with the interviews with good feedback for a CESE role, when asked for salary expectations, should one ask for the initial offer or anchor high? Hey, it's a great question. So I actually don't really care who goes first. I don't think that there's a going first advantage. Sometimes I like for them to go first so I can see the data, but definitely do not provide any salary expectations before you have level confirmed. Get that level confirmation first, because if they're pushing, just say, yeah, I just want to know what the level is first. If they say, I can't tell you that, well, yeah, I'd love to wait for that to happen. Thank you so much. Because we can't determine comp unless we know level. They're intermingled, they're intertwined, right? So we just need to have that data point first. Keep us updated, but you can always go first. That's fine. Just really understand and know the data, because you don't want to anchor too low. It's hard to really anchor too high, but you don't want to anchor too low either. I hope that helps. Clearly from Ireland. Awesome. Thanks for being here. It's not too late there. I think it's like 5 p.m. there now. Was able to meet up with the team in person last week, and it went pretty well, especially with me actively listening to others. Thanks for the advice. It's the best piece of communication advice that we should probably be taught much, much earlier on in our lives. Like starting from the time we're in pretty low grades in school, learning active listening and like attributing that active listening to likability. It makes you more likable. We've all been there, probably already today or yesterday, where people talk over you. They wait to talk. Clearly, they're trying to jump in. And if we can just kind of sit back, pause, take it in. Active listening is a true skill. And by the way, it's incredibly easy. We just have to literally do nothing. A few head nods. By the way, triple nods are really valuable. So you do a 1, 2, 3, and then, oh, or interesting. You but not too much either. Not because then that I find that to be really abrupt and challenging. But again, we could go on and on and on about active listening. The ability to stop and listen and take things in is really important. And it's also very important to recognize some personality types and the way they break, their conversational breaks. They have longer pauses, which can make things a little bit more awkward. So if you active listen, it's better. And some people just take longer to say things than others. Let them speak. They'll like you more. Hey, Jeff, thanks to you. I've been successful with proceeding through my on-sites. Awesome. But the position I was interviewing for rug was pulled and closed. Okay. Sorry to hear that, Tony. I had 2 meetings so far with another team, TPM2 position. Now the recruiter is working on that position, requested another technical judgment interview. Is that normal? Yeah, totally. So if sometimes like these roles are going to get canceled more often. Like, let's just call this the reality. Like, jobs are going to disappear more because in the process, they're going to figure out how to automate it. They're going to figure out something that they don't need to hire more people. They're going to go lean, 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 lean. All these companies. So we just got to be ready for that. That's kind of on the side. So that's normal. Now, doing another technical judgment interview because it's probably in maybe a slightly different technical domain. Yeah, very, very reasonable. Not fun. I mean, nobody wants to do it, but all I would say is it's a real make or break, right? So you want to double, triple down on your prep, make sure you do really well in that interview. And then looks like you have another question here, Tony. Let me jump down to that one just to make sure I'm getting the whole thread here. Did I do poorly on my previous technical judgment interview that triggered this? Recruiter told me I did very well, but I'm confused about the process. Okay, yeah. So again, sometimes they just need different data or more data because it's a different position. So yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Here's the other critical thing, Tony. After you crush this interview, TPM roles are paying very, very well right now. And it's just an important item to note that you are aggressively negotiating TPM roles. There's been a huge uptick in those compensation numbers. And so when you get the job, make sure you really get after it. The TPM offers that I've seen over the last couple of years have been incredibly strong. Thank you for being helpful. Always happy to be helpful. Question related to networking skills. Since all of my team/accounting is based in HQ, and I'm the only person based in Chicago, how can I network with people from other functions and teams? Especially since I'm kind of an introvert and not a native speaker. However, in the meantime, I do want to get to know more about people and build my internal network. Any advice, please? Yeah, so virtual lunches, virtual coffees, that's the best way to do it. But don't worry too much about that right away, Patrick. Your goal in the first 3 months is to really get integrated with your team, learn the products, right? And start to get a little bit more comfortable with the role and then start to think about networking. But this is going to be people who you end up sitting in meetings with, you interact with on business items. Then you can say, hey, Sue, like it's been really great to get to know you over the last few weeks in those meetings, but I don't really know a lot about you. I'd love to do a virtual lunch since I'm in Chicago. I took a look at your calendar and it looks like you're available these 3 days. Would you be willing to do a virtual lunch so I can learn a little bit more about you? And that's it. So lots of virtual lunches, virtual coffees. If you have access to their calendar, make recommendations and suggestions, right, for times. Show your availability. Just give them a lot of options on the availability side. I find that really path of least resistance. It's really effective. Yes, we are community based. Hello, everybody. Hey, Jeff. I feel like business is picking up, but recruiting is definitely bonkers. Got several emails from Meta aggressively recruiting for a marketing leader, which I'm not. To start the process, I had to click a link, go to the site, ID an opening, log into Facebook, and I forgot my login credentials. Asked them to email me directly. Never heard back. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That sounds weird. I'm not sure. Just always with these emails now, we're like seeing so much spam on the job front. I mean, I get probably, at least 2 to 3 texts a day about job openings and interviewing and all this stuff. And obviously, like, I'm just getting spammed. So I just want everybody to be super, super careful in this job market, that it's not spammy, that we're not giving anybody access to private data or whatever. And you probably, look, Liz, you probably went through thinking through all those items. The recruiting world it's a mess. It's absolutely 100% a mess. And so the reason why it's a mess is because there's really two things that are not happening. I do not believe that recruiters are going through the proper training. And then the second piece is that when survey results come in on these recruiters, they're not being held accountable for their poor actions. Those are really two of the big ones. And then the third one is that all these companies have decided that candidate experience is not important. And so because it's not important, you're not going to hear back. It's going to get it's getting worse. I just wish people could see. Well, I actually wish that you couldn't see it or that you didn't have to hear me talk about it, because it's getting really bad. I mean, there's not a single day that goes by that I don't get multiple complaints about Google recruiters and Meta recruiters and Amazon recruiters, but Google's been by far the worst. I get so much negative feedback on their recruiters, and again, from a follow-up perspective, and I've been through this a lot, so I'll keep this really brief. You only need 3 things to be an excellent responsive recruiter. You need a clean inbox, a clean calendar, and a clean applicant tracking system. And to manage those things on a daily basis is easy. And anybody who tells you it's hard, they're not organized. They don't know how to do it. Like, literally no candidate should go more than 24 hours without hearing back. And that's very easy to do if you're organized. And that's why it's crazy to hear that people don't hear back for weeks. They get ghosted. It's like, well, it's not that hard. It's not a hard job, especially at these big tech companies. Like, people want to come. They're interested in working there. The comp is good. So it's really getting frustrating. And I'll tell you, Liz, it's like, for me, like on my end, it's absolutely exhausting, because it's just so sad to hear how poorly the experience is going for so many people. Okay, good, Tony. Crush that interview, crush your negotiations. Hi, Google. There's always going to be a live session where I just can't speak, and this is one of those sessions. Hi, Google recruiter called with great feedback from interviews, but said HM is not in a position to make a hiring decision right now, is waiting for things to come down the pipeline. What does that mean? Nobody knows. That's not common language, right? Like, they need to speak to us like we're normal human beings, and not use this silly, very ambiguous messaging and the way that they're communicating information. Probably what this means is, you got great feedback. The hiring manager, regardless of that great feedback, would like to see more candidates and then make a decision. I believe that's what they're saying, but I can't read between the lines because they're not using clear messaging. And this is just a good pause moment. Context is everything. We live in this world, in this lens. And so speaking in common language, speaking at the 5th grade level, really simplifying things makes things a lot easier. And I was having this conversation with the client on Sunday. I was saying, I'm an English major. I graduated with an English literature degree, and I know some big words. Do I use them? No. Why would I? It doesn't make sense. It alienates part of my audience to bring in big words. I speak at the 5th grade level. It creates better connectivity for all of us, right? So, I don't know. That's crazy. I don't really know what it means, but my best guess is they want to see more candidates. So your job is to stay in touch with the recruiter. You can ask, how often should I reach out to you? Every week, every 2 weeks, every month? But I would definitely just, even if they say, I'll reach out to you, just keep touching base with them. Thank you so much for the virtual lunch coffee advice. I'll definitely keep that in mind and see how it goes. Yeah. And again, I understand there's the introvert extrovert thing, but if you're introverted, it's very easy to be a good active listener and just come prepared with great questions and just listen. That's all you need to do. Hey Jeff, I have an on-site final round next week. First with the senior director of the team, and second is a panel with 3 team members. I've already interviewed it with any preparation tips. Okay, let's see if we got more data here. It's an environmental reporting project manager role with a large tech company in the Bay Area. Well, at the senior director level, so it's a project manager. So at the senior director level role, you're always thinking big picture, scope and scale, and you're also thinking about ease. What can you do to make their job easier, make systems and processes better? So when you speak with a high level person, you're trying to think more about strategy without making it too forced, right? Forcing anything in an interview is difficult. Now, meeting with 3 members that you've already interviewed with, you want to use any previous knowledge or data to have a strong impact on those interviews. And so, if you're able to pick up anything on their personality types, questions they like to ask, just do some reflection on those previous interviews and use that to your advantage. And of course, you can use our app to practice if you want to practice. I'm here for one-on-one coaching, but any other preparation tips would just be around making sure that you're practicing anything in the environmental reporting PM space. That's going to be really helpful as well. I hope that advice helps. Another question related to active listening because it's slow now. I notice my manager likes to talk a lot and sometimes interrupts others, me included. Is that not a good sign? Okay. Or is this something common for most people? Maybe I'm just paranoid since I had some bad managers in the past. It's common. It's common for people to dive in, interrupt. It's extremely difficult for people to be here. And why? Well, we've built a culture in society, like across the globe, that wants everything now, now, now. And so like that's a big part of it, right? It's just the expectation is now, 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 and people are impatient, so they jump in, they interrupt. And that is they have to have awareness around it, so they probably don't have awareness. So it's a skill that is learned over time. I'm sure and fairly confident I used to interrupt people all the time. I can't really remember because it's been a while, but I'm sure I did it, and now that I have the awareness around it, if I interrupt somebody, I immediately apologize. I say, oh, sorry, I jumped in. Please continue. And then I will literally just shut down because I recognize it instantly. I mean, it's just an awareness item. When people interrupt, they're unaware. And that to me is scary and challenging. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like the most negative thing about a manager, but it's just something you're going to want to watch for. And as you get to know them over time, it's feedback you can provide, and that can be tough, but you can make people better with tough feedback. And sometimes it's just important that we share that feedback, not right away, Patrick, right? But at some point, you're going to have to say to your manager, like, hey, Sue, so sometimes when I'm thinking through things, I'm going to be slow to gather my thoughts and discuss items. And I would really appreciate the space to get all my information out. That would be really helpful for me. So you make it all you focused. When we poke at people, then it's going to come across not as strong as it's our preference. And then maybe she'll learn something. I think they actually had the wrong Liz Myers. Meet my doppelganger in another role, same company, same department. She sat on the opposite side of my dividing walls. I mean, I guess, Liz, your name's common enough that could happen, but that's pretty silly. But again, it is just a flag to say, everybody's coming after our data. Everybody's coming after us, and we just want to be super vigilant in terms of like when we accept invites for jobs, and we're seeing it, right? Like I'm getting a lot of job spam, a lot, and they're using text especially, and it's just so annoying, right? And so we just want to be hyper diligent. Sure, we'll go with that. Hyper diligent. I don't even know if that's a phrase, but we'll use it. Okay, newly fresh on the market. I'd like to land a job at Google or other tech company as a program manager, project manager. What's the best way to get in the front door? Okay. I'm just gonna skip ahead, and then we'll come back to those other ones. In NYC, with 3 to 6 years of PM experience, any programs I should do through like a Google apprenticeship? I don't think that an apprenticeship, if you have 3 to 6 years of PM experience, apprenticeship's probably not going to be viable. Apprenticeship's more for university or college grads, or maybe you're like a year out of school, but not 3 to 6 years of experience. Nobody likes this feedback, or maybe people like the feedback. Like I wouldn't apply. I mean, you can apply, but it's incredibly challenging. Then I'm going at 3%. 3% is my number of holistically people who are getting jobs through applications. So 50% you're recruited or sourced. Are recruiters going after you? Is sourcers getting after you? So 50% of those jobs are gone because they've been recruited or sourced. Another 15% are internal movements. So somebody moves from a position within the organization. Now we're at 65%. Another 15% probably got referred in. So now we're all of a sudden up to 80%, and then 15% plus maybe network in. So job applications are a really poor way of getting in the door. So I strongly encourage you to do networking. How do you do networking? Well, the best way is to do a give first model, LinkedIn, send people articles, videos, don't ask them for anything. Focus on hiring managers who you think are hiring and see if they get back to you. I like the give first model. Remember, with a Google or big tech company, the amount of times that these people get hit up on LinkedIn, like you just can't even possibly imagine the volume. It's just unbelievable, like hundreds of times per week. Resumes sent, ask for favors, ask for referrals. So if you give first, it's going to feel very, very different. And then understanding program versus project management, like a company like a Google, they're going to hire program managers, larger scope, larger scale, larger timeline, larger budget. So they're going to lean into more program management. And I think program management's a little bit more insulated and safer from automation and AI than project management. I know that they're very close roles, but program managers are more common roles that are hired in big tech. I know that that's a lot. I hope that's helpful. Hey, Jeff, loved all your videos. Okay. Thank you. I'm going through Google interviews, done with the first one. I'm going for the second one. But the recruiter actually never called me, only chatted via email. So I never talked to them about things like location or visa. Would you recommend that I ask up front towards that end if they end up making me an offer? Did answer it in the original app, though. Yeah, Angela, you answered in the original app. So don't worry about it. Hands off, right? A recruiter, if you get into the interview process at Google and you've never actually spoken with the recruiter, what do we need to do here? I mean, like, I would never put you into the interview process without talking to you. Why? I'd prep you. I want to get you ready. I'm incentivized Your success, I'm incentivized by your success. It's a sales role. I have a sales quota. I have to get a certain number of people to the offer accept stage per quarter. It's actually pretty challenging to pass the interviews and get people to accept the offers. It's more challenging than people would think. So it's weird, but I wouldn't worry about those things because you put them in the application, and I don't want to flag them now because here's why. If they are flags, well, I want you to go through all the interviews, get them to love you, and then if it is a flag, well, they'll make an exception because they love you. So again, is it the best advice? Maybe not, but it's crazy to think that your recruiter would never even contact you outside of email. And this is one of the major challenges, is that recruiters are coming in, it's more of an entry level role, and their communication skills are lacking. And so somehow they were able to pass the interviews, and a lot of the recruiters at Google are TVCs, they're contractors, right? So they may only have had to go through what I went through. I only had to pass 3 half-an-hour interviews to get the job. And of course I got in, got converted, all those good things, but it's not a lot of interviews, so they can maybe get away with things, but now they're coming in and they're just doing a terrible, terrible job. Okay. We're at the 30s. So at the 30s, I am going to take just 30 seconds to prompt on my services. So if this is your first time here, my name is Jeff H. Sipe. My business is practiceinterviews.com. If you go to practiceinterviews.com, that can take you to my one-on-one coaching services, which is interview coaching, strategy sessions, negotiation coaching, packages, and you can have access and find our interview mastery course. And you can also get to our app. And so with the app, we're releasing Interview Academy in beta in the next week. So if you go to app.practiceinterviews.com, you can beta our Interview Academy. It's going to be the raw version. The final version will be highly edited. It'll be beautiful, but this is going to be our raw version just to get some feedback. You always want to get feedback before releasing a big feature like this. It's incredibly expensive to release this item. So we're growing, which is amazing. It's just kind of, we're getting a little bit of that social proof month over month. We're just seeing a little bit of momentum on the app, and that's great. It obviously took longer than I thought, but now to see that we're growing, it just shows me that people are getting the word out, that they're trusting that the app is good and helping them, and that's making me extremely happy. So really happy about that. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original long form content every Monday. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing, and let's dive right back into questions. Hey, Greg. Yeah, job span is getting wild. We'll need a new team like spear fishing soon. Okay. Oh, new term. I was like, new team, new term like spear fishing. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what they're doing, right? Low likelihood, especially when you're a rookie fish spearer, right? Like the chances that you're gonna get that fish is like 0%, and that's what they're doing. And most of them, it's low level, it's automated, right? But they're trying. So we just need to have awareness around it. And just again, like the biggest thing is, I don't need to tell everybody this, but I just have to say it, like just protect your data. That's the most important thing. Great thoughts on how to share feedback to the manager later on is very useful. Do you think that active listening works for companies with aggressive culture like investment banks? Okay. I've always have this kind of wrong impression that active listening might work well if I want to be more ambitious or assertive, like push back on situations. More thoughts on this? Well, yeah, you can be a great active listener and assertive, right? There's a lot of power in being the last person in the room to speak. Why? So let's say you're in a meeting. You can be incredibly assertive, but just be assertive at the end. Why do I want everybody to speak first? Let them present their ideas, their concepts, their thoughts. Let me hear everybody out. And then when it comes to me, I can take that data and information, spin it in a different way, think about it, agree with it, disagree with it. But if I'm always trying to jump in and assert myself, I'm not taking the time to bring in all the data and information that's going to make me more valuable to the organization. So, um, yeah, I'm not a fan of just jumping in to jump in, and when I encounter and interact with people like that, I typically shut down and walk away as quickly as possible. And trust me, there are so many communication items that I have this funny conversation with my wife all the time that I unfortunately cannot shut down. So I'm going to assess your communication style within seconds, and it's pretty accurate. And again, that's just because I spend all day, every day communicating with people. But the negative ones and being like overly assertive, again, that's going to cause me personally to shut down, and I'm going to do my best to get away from that person as quickly as possible. So, uh, active listening, remember, you could be in a room of assertive people, but you're always the one listening and taking in their information. They're going to actually like you more. It's crazy. Referrals are a great path, right? So I definitely want you to always take advantage of your referrers. And the other really important thing with referrers is lean into them. Again, we got to understand the relationship. The closer we are, obviously, if we're really close with them, we can poke and push and prod, but we need to put them in our shoes a little bit. So if we're following up and we're saying, like, hey, Sue, I know you referred me before. I just need you to put yourself in my shoes, please. It's really challenging time in the job market, and I'd really love another referral if you can. And so, like, just kind of reminding them to put themselves in your shoes can be powerful, but no, referrals are great. So always lean into referrals, and that's valuable for any company. Thanks so much. So I can ask the recruiter to call me to get more insights to prep me then, but regardless of their help, I get plenty of help from your videos. So I feel confident. Awesome. Yeah, you can always email them and say, hey, like, are just curious if we're going to do any prep calls before any of the future interviews. Is that something that you typically do? Like, because they should be prepping you. Again, it's to their benefit. So they should be preparing you. But yeah, you can always ask, like, hey, can we go through a prep session for A, B, or C? Because it is valuable, because sometimes they'll give you good insights. So it's definitely something that's worth asking for. I got invited in to go into the Google NYC office tomorrow with someone who works there for lunch and is willing to be my mentor and introduce me to others there. Okay. Any advice on questions to prepare and what to expect for that? Dress code. This was a LinkedIn Connect who I am extremely grateful for. Okay. So that's amazing. So office tomorrow, someone who works there for lunch. Okay, we'll definitely eat. Take advantage of the good food in that office. If it's a nice day, the view is pretty epic. But from the main cafe has like a pretty epic view of Lower Manhattan. But the biggest thing is, I want you to really use whatever your preferred LLM is today. So whether that's GPT or Gemini or Claude or Llama or whatever you prefer using, and work out with that tool some great questions to go in and ask. But you really want to understand a lot about them, the environment, what they love, what they enjoy. Let them do the majority of talking. When you get introduced to people, remember, great presence, shoulders back, chin up, a big smile, handshake. Don't overdress. I would say just go in pretty casual. There's no reason to get really dressed up. If you want to step it up just a little bit, like business casual, but that's even going to be aggressive. Everybody's in like hoodies and jeans and sweatpants, and it's a pretty casual environment. So something that feels pretty casual. Remember, dress is mirroring, and mirroring is really important. If you're overdressed, you're not mirroring your audience. So again, like at the high end, I would say business casual, but you could go even more casual than that. Active listening as your default tons of questions. And again, use an LLM to think about what you think are going to be the appropriate questions, whether those are just general questions, questions about program or project management at Google. But just smile, listen, and ask great questions, right? If they say something, oh, tell me more about that. Or, oh, I've also found that to be interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about your experience there? So we are taking the information they're giving us and asking good, thoughtful, probing questions. I hope that helps. If you have more questions, let me know. Thank you so much for more advices on active listening. Very valuable. Definitely keep practicing that. So much of practicing active listening, and I know this audience might be a little sick of hearing about it, but it's awareness. Everything is awareness. Nothing else really matters if we're not aware. So if we're aware, we know that we need to have gratitude and empathy and be forgiving and be a good listener and not interrupt and do all these things. But without the awareness of it, it's totally useless. So to me, awareness is the absolute foundation. And then we build from there. And why are we talking about this in a kind of business setting, interview setting? Because if you can bring awareness into all your business settings, you are just going to absolutely stand out, whether it's in job search, the interview process, just being a good employee. Awareness is everything. And it's not there anymore. People are so unaware of themselves that when you are aware, it really makes you stand out. Hey, Jeff, thanks for the live. Absolutely. As per my last conversation, I sent an email to candidate support. They CC'd HR and the interview coordinator. Still no response from either of them. Been a week. Thoughts? Is it a no-go for me, I guess? Interview happened almost 20 days ago. Let's do it again. Do it again. Say, okay, now we're at 3 weeks and I still haven't heard back. One way or another, I would sincerely appreciate closure or continuing in the process, but I still haven't heard back. Now, if we can start to potentially bring in interviewers in the process, again, that might be a little bit too early, but if you can find their email addresses, a lot of this stuff is public information. And here's the other sneaky trick that I actually rarely talk about. Let's say everybody's ghosting us from the HR side, and we know that we interviewed with Sue Smith. Well, if you use a tool called Contact Out, again, that's called Contact Out, they're going to give you like 5 free email addresses. So you go to the LinkedIn profile, you use the free Contact Out widget or whatever we're calling it these days, and it will give you the email address of that person. And the accuracy on Contact Out, it's like 90%. It's really, really good. And they'll give you 5 for free. I think it's $100. I know because I use it. It's $100 a month. And I probably don't use it enough to validate that cost, but you can always get email addresses and you can always do a free trial. There's another one too. So there's multiple companies where if you went around to multiple companies, you could probably get 15, 20 free email addresses. So it's just a tip and trick that if we get to like a month and you haven't heard back, start CCing in the interviewers and saying, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. And then the biggest thing that I don't mention enough is when we get surveys on our recruiters and we've had this horrible, terrible experience, you cannot be nice at that point in the process. If you're nice, every future candidate is going to feel the pain, but you need to make them feel the pain. I don't even think they're looking at the surveys. If they were, there's no way we'd be getting this feedback all the time because it's terrible. It's worse. So, yeah, I just think they're not looking at those surveys at all. They can't be. If they were, they wouldn't even have a recruiting department. And by the way, we can automate out all recruiting right now. And everybody who's watching this live, if we automated recruiting from the beginning to the end, I guarantee you'd have a better experience. Guaranteed. If we made everything automated AI, like everything, including the interviews, you'd always hear back same day. You'd hear back same day with an automated offer sent to you. Imagine that experience, always getting an offer or a decline same day so you can move on with your life. There are all the tools and systems to do that today. So you'd have a better experience instead of getting ghosted all the time. Just my 2 cents. Approaching final interview with G, and I don't think I've done my best so far. Okay, Greg. Is it possible to make up ground and impress enough in a googly and leadership round to change minds and get hired for a CE role? Well, Greg, if you're still in the process, my best guess is it's probably gone maybe a little bit better than you think, because they can really, ever since COVID, any of these jobs, they can end the process anytime because obviously the interviews are rarely all same day. They're oftentimes staggered over days and weeks, right? So clearly they like you enough to keep going. So I want you to take that momentum, and just remember at Google, it's collective, right? So it's collective feedback. It's not feedback just on one interview, it's all the interviews. So all we can control and do, and control is a big item that I like to talk about, but you can only control the interview that's in front of you. What's happened in the past is it's the past, right? So double, triple, quadruple down on the efforts you need to make sure that you absolutely crush that interview. And that's really all you can do. Okay. So let me know if you have additional questions. The G&L interview tends to be all about decision making, decisions you've made in the past, positive ones, negative ones, how you've collaborated, how you focused in on inclusivity, and then hypothetical scenarios of how you'd make decisions in certain scenarios. Hope that helps. Hey, Jeff, at work, multitasking, not sure if you missed to answer my second question. Let's check. I thought I answered your questions, but I'm just going back through here. Let's go back. Yeah, I answered that question. I hope so. It doesn't matter if you go first or they go first. Just make sure you're anchoring high. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, just ask again, please. What's the best job boards I should use to apply for a job? I've been using LinkedIn, Indeed, Google Jobs, none of the above. It's great to use LinkedIn or Indeed or any of these platforms to identify openings, and then I would go to the company website to apply. But again, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not recommend applying. I recommend against it, and nobody likes that advice, but there's just too many people applying for jobs now. I mean, we're talking about for these elite jobs like at Google, these jobs have 1,000 applications within an hour. I mean, it's very, very hard to stand out. So I always recommend using other paths, right? And your referrals is the best way to go, but I wouldn't apply through third-party job boards. If I find a job I'm interested in and you are going to apply, again, not my recommendation, go directly to the company website. That's the best thing to do. All right, I'll have you paste that question in. I'm not sure what question I missed. It just says this one, so I'm not really sure. So we're out of questions, but obviously more questions are coming in. I know they are. I'm happy to answer anything else. Let's just take a pause moment. I'm going to probably see some questions come in, but let's just pause and let's talk about, are companies paying less in 2025? The answer is yes and no. Okay. So I have seen thematically a couple of companies, like I'm going to use some specific examples. So I have seen a couple of companies start to bring down their offers over the last couple of years. So specifically like Meta and Amazon, those offers are not as good as they used to be. And I would even argue that Meta, I saw better offers from Meta maybe 10 years ago than I'm seeing now. I know that that's crazy, but on the equity side on Meta, they have significantly dropped how much equity they're giving. And it's pretty glaring. Amazon in general, their equity numbers have come down too. I have not seen Google coming down. Actually, I've seen them only going up over time. But I do think that we will see a tightening. And I do think that companies are going to try and get away with paying less. They can. And I did this LinkedIn post because again, I'm not going to get into specific details, unfortunately, just to protect my client's confidentiality. But I did have a client last week where it was a big tech company, and the hiring manager said, we've moved from an employee to an employer first compensation model. It's like, wow, I would never want to work for that person. That sounds terrible. Like, don't tell me that as a candidate before I even join the organization. You're basically saying, I don't care. It's just very cold, right? It could be said in a much, much better way. But I think we are going to see a downtick in what companies are paying. Again, I don't think it's going to be significant drops. And the biggest reason why is internal equity, right? And so for internal equity purposes, not equity compensation, but internal equity is Sue, Bob, and Jane all got hired in the last year at 200K. I can't all of a sudden bring in Scott at 100K because Sue, Jane, and Bob are all earning 100K more than Scott. Scott's going to talk to them and be like, what the heck? You're paying me 100K more for the same, 100K less for the same job? It's not going to happen, right? But could they skew it down by 10% and they paid those three people 200 and they pay Scott 180? Yeah, that could happen. And I think that will happen. Again, big tech, I haven't seen like a drop in 2025. It still appears to be on the up and up, but it's just something that we're really going to want to track and look at. And it's still your opportunity to negotiate. And again, it's just always with the context that when you're negotiating, understand the company you're negotiating with. Like with big tech, they're not going to rescind offers, but like with smaller companies, they might, especially in this economic landscape. So just important to note that if you're not aware of their negotiation philosophy, ask, what's your negotiation philosophy? It'll make it a lot easier. I hope that helps. Happy to dive back into this subject. I think it's super interesting, and I think people probably want to talk about it, but if the questions come up, I'm happy to answer them. Somehow I can see the question in chat, but it doesn't show up for you. Just please retype it. Yeah, that's all. Just restate it, retype it, and happy to answer it now. Kind of related to this topic, I know my role is a backfilled IC while the person backfilled is a manager role. Okay. Does this mean I'm more likely to be promoted? Can't say. I never want to, again, I don't know. I think we can all kind of, again, I'll bring in the awareness of my personality type. I can be very emotional, but when it comes to items like this, I definitely default to logical, analytical, and like the answer is I don't know. I never try to control what I can't control. That's a very hard life lesson that I've learned as I've gotten older. But I just never want to say like we can get promoted, we can't get promoted. And by the way, Patrick, the reason why this is such an important question is oftentimes now, if we're talking about our companies paying less in 2025, they might say, look, we might be bringing you in at a little less, but there's a great opportunity for promotion, or we think we can revisit this comp in 6 months. Those are not guaranteed items. Only what's in front of you is the only thing that's guaranteed, right? So it's just an important item to note. But look, if it looks like they promote from within, that's great, right? But I couldn't guarantee it. I couldn't tell you. There's just a million factors that go into promos. Thanks for all the videos. Been interviewing for a role at Google in Europe. Your video helped me prepare well and feel much less stressed out now. Thanks. Practice is everything. And it's kind of like, it's just this, like I try to articulate this as much as possible. And I know it's probably annoying, but we'll just articulate it. There is no bigger ROI than practicing your interview skills. You could practice for 5 or 10 hours and double your compensation. There's nothing else in life that can be such a game changer that takes so little time and effort as interview practice. It just doesn't. Like, I can literally change my life with just a handful of hours. Now, I want to go play in the NBA. I'm too old and broken for that personally, but I love basketball. But I want to go play in the NBA. There's just no way. I don't have all the hours to practice my shooting, my dribbling, my passing, and go make that big money. But I can do that right with interview practice. So it's just always double and triple down on the practice. And I'm glad you're feeling less stressed, because that's what practice does. It allows us to feel a little less stressed. And then, of course, in the interviews, always use solid breathing techniques. That's going to reduce your stress quite a bit. And you can even hear, did you just hear what happened in my voice? It got a little lower, a little slower just by one deep breath. It's crazy how much our breath can positively impact our anxiety and stress. That makes sense. It's just a quick thought when you were talking about the comp drop from Meta and Amazon. Thanks for your insight. Yeah, of course. And let's talk about it, Patrick. So if you want to get promoted, you're never going to get promoted unless you're talking about it with your lead. When's the appropriate time to talk about it? Not right away. Not in your first 3 months or 6 months, but at maybe 3 to 6 months, you say to your manager, Sue, I'd really like to develop and grow my career to the next level. What's the action or actions I need to take to get promoted? And then it becomes a conversation. You build tangible items into your OKRs, SMART goals, overall goals, whatever we're going to call them. And you work towards those items. So you're working towards something specific to get promoted. And if your manager, Sue, says, hey, Patrick, if you do these 3 things in the next year, you'll get promoted. And you do those 3 things. And then Sue comes back and she goes, you know what, now's not a good time. Let's revisit this in 6 months. Go find another job. Because Sue made a promise and then she backed out on her promise. And if she doesn't have a great reason for that, other than it's not the right time, probably not going to be good for you, right? Okay, we're approaching the 1 hour mark, which is kind of where we almost always end in these live sessions. It's kind of crazy. It's like, it's always an hour. So I'll kind of sit and pause for a moment here and see if any additional questions come in from our audience. I would like to highlight the fact, and I see Patrick, you have another question I'll answer in a second. I would like to highlight the fact that next live session is live session number 200. So I am planning on doing some sort of fun giveaway or something next week. So if you are around next week and want to join the live session, we're going to be doing something fun. I did this for my 100th live session, and I don't know, I feel like it was like an epic failure, like nobody showed up. So if you're here now and you want to come back and be part of a giveaway next week, I'll figure out something fun for the audience and we'll do it. It's a very great and efficient way to get feedback on promotion from a manager. Thanks again. Another satisfied session with so many questions answered. Well, Patrick, you've kept us going, so I appreciate it. Hello, and thank you, Jeff. Thanks for being here. Obviously, for anybody coming in at the end of these live sessions, always the opportunity to rewatch these. And of course, I'm low and slow, so you can 2x me if you want to rewatch them. Also, my admin and I worked out a deal, and she's now going to get the timestamps in same day when she can. No pressure. I'm not going to put her name out there, but no pressure to get it done. But we should be getting timestamps on the subject areas the same day. So if you want to come back to the live session and really kind of dive through the questions you want to get answered, yeah, we can do that. And it will save you time. That's okay, Liz. You have been a fantastic contributor, and always appreciate you showing up. So it will be, I think it'll be a fun live next week. Awesome, Greg. Looking forward to it. 200, do you have an exact date and time next live? 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. I never waver from that time. And I think it's just really important. I think it's really important that we, sorry, my brain stopped working for a second. 9 a.m. Pacific time next Tuesday. As content creators, it's really important that we set specific criteria on when we're going to release videos. I think it's just a poor strategy as a content creator to not have rigidity around that. So new long form content every Monday. I go live at 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday. And if I'm not going to do the long form video or go live, I will always update in the YouTube community that I'm just not doing it that week. And so this year I've gone live every week, and then 1 week I just passed on doing the long form video. I was out of town, so I didn't do it. So that consistency, I think, is important. I'm not sure why, but if you can just retype it, I'm happy to answer it. I'm going to be hopping off soon, so if you can retype it or summarize it, I think that'd be fine. Happy to answer it. Now you're tempted to join next Tuesday. If you can, you can. Patrick, you've been a very, very strong contributor over the last few months, so I really appreciate it. Speaking of low and slow, how do you recommend speaking in interviews? I feel like tech interviewers skew to fast talkers, but I'm low and slow naturally. Very simple tip and trick. Well, let's take 2 steps on this. First of all, if we're constantly worried about their pace, we have enough to think about and worry about, so don't worry too much about it. But here's what I do. Somebody goes fast, 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 fast. I go fast, 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 slower, slower, slow. So I will slow them down. I'll match their pace, but I'll start to bring them down to a slower pace, and then I'll watch them go slower. This is like a tip and trick I learned from Tony Robbins probably 10 years ago. I used to talk really fast. I grew up in the Northeast. I was fast, fast, fast. And then I got to California and I got slower and slower. And then I realized for effective communication, going really slow is incredibly helpful. I build in a lot of pauses intentionally to slow things down. So match their pace, match their pace, match their pace, slow, 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 and slow them down. Just recognize it, but don't worry too much about it. Have an awareness of our pitch, our tone, our pacing, our body language, our shoulders, our chin, our eye contact, our smiles. All those things are going to be important on top of the words we use. It's just the words become more important, obviously, in a job interview. It's one of the only times where our words will carry the weight that they carry. And most of the time it's body language. It's not our words. Okay. I'm going to go into wrap up. And then obviously, if any additional questions come in, I am happy to answer them. If you go to app.practiceinterviews.com, we have a 7-day free trial. And so hop into that trial. If you click on the button to join our beta program, we are going to be releasing the first beta version of our Interview Academy probably next week. We're super excited. This is going to increase engagement on an already growing platform. We're getting that social proof. Finally, it's been a year and now we're seeing month over month growth, and it's amazing to see. And I am so grateful to everybody that's using it. It's just validating and proving that people like modular feedback, like getting into the weeds, and like fixing small components of their answers, and don't want the bucketed information or no information. They're finding that small pieces of information is really valuable. So I'm super excited about that. I'm still doing one-on-one coaching. So interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and strategy sessions. That's mostly resume and LinkedIn work. We have interview packages now. So they're really, really helpful for people who want to do multiple sessions with me. Interview mastery course. If you don't know, I updated that entire course back in October to include AI modules throughout. Huge lift. The course was a little older, still getting great feedback, but with the AI stuff, it's been just awesome. Just all the feedback has been positive. I seriously have not gotten a negative piece of feedback on that AI component, so it's been great. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original long form content every Monday, and I'll continue to throw short form content out there, usually like one short on a Wednesday, and then we all know I need to do more short form content. I'm going to answer these last questions, and then I'm going to hop off. Thank you for being here. Great session as always. Be back here next week. Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, Jeff, for your interview advice. For the GNL leadership round, do we also apply the CFAS method for hypothetical questions, as some questions seem to be direct? CFAS method. If you ask me a how or what, or I want you to imagine question, I'm using CFAS. Don't use it and you'll fall apart quickly. Stay within the methods. It's like that. Stay within the line. Stay within the methods. The methods are our friends. Hey, Jeff, cleared all interview role for Google, but they didn't offer me the position due to some visa and all. They told me they will open the same position in my home country. Okay. Didn't get approached by the recruiter and also didn't respond to my mail. What should be done in this case? This is a tricky one. I strongly recommend that you follow up again. And so one of the things when we don't hear back is I just do a kill them with kindness. So I just follow up and I'm gracious and kind. And then a week later, I follow up again. I'm gracious and kind. And then I follow up again a week later and I'm gracious and kind. And they just are constantly seeing me be nice. And so I'm sorry to hear that the specific sponsorship items didn't roll through for you, but you just got to stay on top of them and just keep checking in and stay patient, as hard as that can be. And good luck, and keep us posted, please. Hey, Jeff, I didn't get an update on the apprenticeship at Google. They mailed me 3 or 4 days ago, finally after more than a month's wait. Can you tell me what Google cooldown period is? Well, first of all, I'm really sorry to hear this. If you did get the survey, provide negative feedback, because that's not going to hurt you in the future. It's confidential, and you just need to say, like, look, the recruiter was terrible at getting back to me. I strongly encourage that. Typical cooldowns, like 6 months to a year. It's not super rigid. So if something else came up, there's obviously an opportunity. And if you did well, it could come up sooner rather than later. But 6 months to a year is pretty typical. And good luck. And again, sorry to hear that. Thanks as always. Looking forward to 200. Awesome. And that's a good closing note for us. I will be back next week with my 200th live session. So excited to 200. It's crazy. It's almost 4 years of every week going live. So I never thought I'd achieve that goal. And it wasn't even a goal. It's nice to be able to show up and engage and interact with the community. And I am extremely grateful for this community. It's just been an amazing thing to see. And so thank you all so much for showing up, and thank you. And I will be back next week. Have a great day. Take care.